G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 91. A lot to talk about today. The main focus of this episode will be looking at the potential best 22s going into round one, of course, without knowing too many injuries, and a couple of looks at different teams and how their pre-seasons are going. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be AFL this next season.
It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dankos to get the pies home! He's done it! So my brother is with me as always. Didn't want to do it yesterday. Oh, there's going to be so much news dropping today. Usually there is, but today wasn't really a lot of news dropping on the Tuesday night. I think it's starting to get to that period now. We're getting towards Christmas.
Yeah, it's just that all the players are coming back to the pre-season now. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure the news will start to drop. I mean, the big news story probably dropping the last couple of weeks on the injury front was Daniel Rioli for the Gold Coast did receive an injury, so probably won't return to running until the new year. So that's probably a big one for the Gold Coast. But other than that, most teams looking pretty good going into on the injury front so far. Obviously, long way to come. First one I want to take a look at on the news about pre-seasons was the Adelaide Crows. Looks like Sid Draper, pick 4. Obviously, it was a massive pick up for the Crows. Probably the best prospect in South Australia. Looks like he's in all guns blazing. First match sim for him. Played on ball, kicked the goal, and also looks like he caught Jared Berry cold, ran him down. Class shining through easy early so far, so that's good to see for Sid Draper. Interesting to see what the Crows will do with him, because I think you told me before we did this episode that the Crows a little bit tentative on playing draftees early on.
yeah, well, like with players like Billy Dowling and Pedler last year, he got injured, but they've been very tentative. You said that they're the really high draft picks to play him, and they're going to chuck him probably in half forward at the moment.
Yeah, I can't see him going round one, going straight into the guts.
No, because I think that you give that to a Rankin type this year, over pre-season first. He gets first dibs to get another in rotation for it.
Yeah, but I think definitely he could add some sort of spark to them, because I think when Isaac Rankin was in the midfield at times last year, the Crows did look a lot better through there.
Yeah.
He just added something different. I think Sid will definitely do that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that he started off well. Obviously, best prospect of the Adelaide Crows NSA. So I mean, not for you, I guess. You're probably like, fuck, you absolute wankstone, get out of my way. But looking at the time trials, a couple of teams going through it already. So have you seen, before we get into that, have you seen that B grade local league footy clubs are like going back to pre-season now? Like, come on. Come on. AFL, I get it, that's their job. But I don't think we need to see B grade, like the local footy team going back to pre-season now. Anyway.
I'd get it only if it was like the under 18s players would be doing it. Those are the only players
who like draftee.
Getting drafted for next year. Those are the only ones I'd see coming into pre-season. Give the A, Bs, and all that kind of shit.
I feel like they can come back in maybe late January, early February. Yeah. Anyway, on the AFL front, looks like St Kilda, Darcy Wilson won the 3K time trial for the Saints, and Bradley Hill was second. Not really too many surprises there. I think Darcy Wilson won it first year as well. Yeah. So that's good to see for him. Sydney Swans, looks like this was the younger players doing it, but Corey Warner won and Caden Cleary came in second. Matt Roberts came in third. Corey Warner, interesting year for him for Sydney, because obviously he's been definitely in the shadow of his brother, Chad Warner, which is understandable. Just never really been able to get a real shot at it. He's definitely a different player to Chad, so that's why I think he hasn't really got a huge shot at it. He comes in, he's usually on the periphery of the team, the 22. Interesting to see how he goes. Caden Cleary, I've been singing his praises for basically since the finals of 2024. Saying that he should be in the team. And we'll get to that in a little bit when we look at the best 22s. But good to see that he's done well in the first run for him. On the Gold Coast side, does seem that the 1 year to 4 year players did the 2K time trial. And But joining them was Sam Flanders, who clocked the fastest time, sub 6 minutes, ahead of Ethan Reid. So interesting that Ethan Reid was up there, obviously a very tall prospect. It does seem that Zeke Euland joined their future teammates as well and finished 4th. So Zeke Euland obviously isn't even a part of the team yet. He will be a very high draft pick going into the 2025 draft. But interesting to see how he went. And obviously Sam Flanders, good to see that he's like back in the preseason, going in there with the 1 to 4 year players. On Richmond's side, Caden McIntosh, is that who it is? I think that's who it is. He finished 2nd. Blight finished 1st. And he got a new number change, which is very weird. I think he went from 52 to 46 or something as a kit number. Very weird. I don't know about that. Anyway, Nathan Broad finished 3rd. Prestia. Surprised he didn't pull a hamstring, but he finished 5th in the 2K time trial. Interesting that they made him...
Yeah, that's a bit a mystery, that one.
Yeah, he'll survive that, but as soon as he gets out on the footy field... boys.
Pings to the hamstring.
Yeah, exactly. Look, for West Coast, Jack Graham actually won the time trial, which is very interesting. Jack Graham, they're really seen as like a fitness sort of player, a lot more of a clearance player, but it's very good to see he's joined his new club and done very well for himself. Baker, Owies, Cole, all of them, Duggan, Cripps, and Oscar Allen as well, all in the top 10, so a lot of key players there. Interesting to see how West Coast go next year, because they didn't really, they got a bit of draft, obviously Bo Allen was very good to see, but they've definitely topped up, which is very interesting for a team that's 16th on the ladder. Yeah. Or finished 16th anyway. Hawthorn, looks like Changgrath Jaff. Oh, I'm so sorry, I've got that one wrong. He run 1st place, which is very good to see, obviously. But he's obviously been a little bit injury prone last year, but there's so much potential for Jaff. So I should have just said CJ. Idiot. Anyway, Josh Ward and Finn McGuinness finished 2nd and 3rd. On North Melbourne's front, Jai Simpkin finished 1st in front of Dylan Stevens and Colby McKercher. Really excited to see how McKercher goes. Interesting that Finn O'Sullivan as well, obviously was his number 2 pick. He finished 6th, so that's good to see. Jai Simpkin, interesting to see if he gets that midfield spot this year. What do you think? You think he's got a chance, or you think that's going to be going to the young guys?
It's hard to say. I think for his confidence, for him being the captain, you'd want him to be in the guts, I think,
He just never seems to get that go.
Yeah, I think, obviously last year he got the start of the season, he had that big blow by Webster.
Yeah.
So he missed out most of the start of the season. So I think...
He had a good mid patch as well this season.
They just seemed to just chuck him in because he's the captain. But then after he got a few games into him, he started getting a few goes in the midfield and he started playing really well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's his best spot. He just doesn't... He's not a half forward.
No.
And he just doesn't really get the ball enough.
It's like everyone says it's the dead position on the field.
It's a specialty position. You need to have an actual specialty player, like a Brent Daniels from GWS. Certain teams have that player, some teams don't, and some teams just chuck midfielders there, and it just doesn't work.
In their rotation. So.
Yeah, in their rotation. It just doesn't work. And Bulldogs, we have Joel Frazier actually came onto the scene last year for the Bulldogs. He won the 2K, I don't know if it was a 2K. He won the time trial. Lockie McNeil finished 2nd. Jordan Croft, untried draftee, finished 3rd. Now, one as well on Melbourne's front, it was Harry Sharp, the new recruit. And, he's won every single time trial so far in his career.
Yeah,
he won it at Brisbane. Yeah, since the Combine. He won in Brisbane those few years that he was there. And he goes to Melbourne, wins the 2K time trial. I think he'll get a shot next year at the D's.
I think he will, yeah. I think he'll get that spot that he's been wanting that he couldn't get at the Lions.
Yeah, he just won in front of Brown, Tom McDonald. Very interesting that he finished 3rd. Good on him. And Cade Chandler, Tom Sparrow in the top 5 for the Demons. Last one I want to take a look at. Interesting one. This is Essendon. Angus Clark wins the time trial comfortably for Essendon. He was a pick 39, I believe, for the Bombers. He finished in front of Redmond, Menzies, Durham, Nick Martin, and... Well, that was it, sorry. But interesting that a young kid, Angus Clark, wins comfortably the time trial. I don't know. It's good to see. But I feel like a lot of teams, when they've got senior players in the time trials, if the kids are dominating, like comfortably winning the time trial, I don't think it's a great look, to be honest. It's not a bad look, but I just think the seniors players should be, up there. They're the ones who are conditioned to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's more that it would be interesting because putting his best foot forward for round 1 next year. Obviously, a long time away, but
Yeah, I mean, you got to put your best foot forward early though, because you get forgotten about pretty quickly.
because I'm pretty sure that this the draftee wasn't a high pick, so
No, he's picked 39.
yeah,
I think,
so he's got to put himself out there somehow, and use his traits to
try and get a spot early on, get his name in the books early. Looking at a couple of VFL players that have from the AFL space who have gone down VFL this year. Big one that coming today was Cooper Hamilton. It looks like that he could potentially be playing for the Carlton VFL side next year. Obviously, Cooper Hamilton, not really known much for his footy, but looks like he'd be playing for the Carlton Footy Club as the underground. Maybe try and find his way back into the AFL. Interesting because there's been some pictures around social media of him being back at the Giants. So interesting to see if he's going to be playing maybe for them next year as a Giants VFL team.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how that plays out. A couple of other ones I want us to take a look at. Just AFL players that have just gone down to the VFL to play this year. First one is Dyson Heppel, who'll be playing for Port Melbourne in the VFL. Looking at Francis Evans, obviously got delisted from Port Adelaide. He's going to be playing for the Carlton VFL side as well. Jack Bytel is moving to Coburg, obviously former Collingwood and St Kilda player. Curtis Taylor, a bit of a surprise this one. I thought maybe an AFL team would potentially look at picking him up. Yeah. He obviously delisted by North Melbourne. He's been picked up by the Pies of the VFL side. Tex Wanganeen, delisted by the Bombers. He's gone to Port Melbourne to follow Dyson Heppel. James Van Ness, sorry, don't think he ever played a game. He was St Kilda Ruckman. He got delisted. He's at Port Melbourne as well. So they're stocking up. Hugo Hulkan, Swans mid-season draftee a couple of years ago. He's gone back to Williamstown. Ollie Houghton, ex-St Kilda player, he's gone to the North Melbourne VFL side. Charlie Lazaro had some good games in the AFL last year. He's gone to Port Melbourne, so they're stocking up on players. Matthew Allison, former St Kilda player, has gone to Coburg. Ethan Stanley, Fremantle player, had a game or two last year, I think, for Fremantle, but he got delisted. He's gone to Box Hill, so Box Hill's been very prominent in picking up mid-season draftees and AFL ex-players, so interesting to see how that one plays out. Carter Michael, ex-Brisbane Lion, don't think he played many games. He's gone to Williamstown. And finally, Will Martin, former Tiger, gone to Port Melbourne as well. So, interesting to see maybe a couple of those names may pop up coming forward in mid-season draft. And also, it was also Dom Brew. It was Dom Brew, I think it was. We talked about this last week, but he's training with the Western Bulldogs at the moment. So, interesting to see if he gets a spot on the AFL list. If he doesn't, potentially goes back to Werribee. Try and get a mid-season draft pick. That could happen as well. We saw, obviously, Sean Manor last year got picked up by Geelong in the draft. So, we'll see. There's a couple of SSP picks probably likely coming in that will probably be in there when towards the start of the season. And, a couple of players already got picked up that were ex-AFL players, thinking Quinton Narkle went to Fremantle already. Jackson Pryor, he went from Brisbane to Essendon. So that's a couple of players there. But what we're really here to talk about today, which is probably the main part of this episode, is every team's best 22. So the best team going into round 1. Now, obviously, it's a long way away. Bit of fun. Not really a lot of content in the AFL space at the moment, so we've got to make our own. The AFL, I don't know who it was, posted an article going through the best 22 going into next year. So I thought we'd go through, look at them, and then make some changes if we think they should be. So first of all, we start with the Adelaide Crows. This person has gone with Michaelani, Murray, Worrell, Hinge, Keane, and Cumming, the new recruit. That's the back line. Scholl, Crouch, and Peatling run through the centre. Keys, Fogarty, Neil Bullen, Rochelle, Phil Thorpe, and Taylor Walker in the forward line. As the followers, they've got O'Brien, Dawson, and Rankin. And on the bench, they've got Saligo, Laird, Curtin, and Sid Draper, the new draftee. So a couple of players to miss out here are Billy Dowling, Luke Pedler, Jordan Butts, and Luke Nankervis. Now, there's also Wayne Miller as well, who obviously missed most of last year with injury. Me, personally, I think the only one I would change that I potentially make the round 1 team is if Miller is fit, that I think he takes over Dan Curtin's spot. And Taylor Walker, he's not going to miss, but I feel like that's a spot they have to look at. I feel like 3 forwards, Phil Thorpe, Fogarty and Walker. None of them really play up the field, I would say. I mean, Thilthorpe will play as a second ruck, but Walker probably plays between the arcs, but how much longer can he do that? I don't know. I just think that they need some more. The game now requires you to have pressure forwards and a pressure forward line. So to have 3 tools, you have to they have to be playing different roles as tools,
and they have to be a bit agile if they're going to do it because
and
none of them are. Yeah. None of them are agile.
What would you make any changes to the 22?
I think that defence, it needs Jordan Butts in it.
Yep. Who would you rip out though? You got Michaelani, Murray, Worrell, Hinge, Keane, and Cumming. It's a tough. They actually performed quite well last year, the Crows' defence. So
I just think that if you get, I don't know. You might be able to keep it, but I just think that against some other teams, you might be able to keep that team. Like I think Jordan Butts would be very unlucky. I think a player like Pedler and Dowling being out as well. Like Dowling was not in the team at the start of the last year, and had to buy his time. Came in and he did perform really well. So to go back to the Sandful, would it?
I mean, I think it's good to see that they have some depth for Crows because I think it's been an issue, and that helps out with the players that they picked up over the off season: Pete Ling, Cumming, and Neil Bullen. All of them straight into their 22. So I think that's obviously good. I think that's a good thing that they have some depth. The Crows really have struggled on that for a while now, especially when they had a few injuries last year. They did struggle to continue pushing forward. So I think that 22 is probably pretty fair. I probably wouldn't change too much about it. Brisbane's up next. They have gone with backline first. Duday, Andrews, Starskovich, Wilmot, Payne, and Zorko. In the midfield, going through the centre, it's Berry, McCluggage, and Zach Bailey. In the forward line, we've got Rayner, Hipwood, Lohman, Charlie Cameron, Henry Smith, and Logan Morris. Through the followers, we've got McInerney, Neil, and Will Ashcroft. And on the bench, we've got Kitty Coleman, Josh Dunkley, Levi Ashcroft, and Cal Archie. So a couple of players to miss out here are Ryan Lester, Ainsworth, Jasper Fletcher, Darcy Fort, Sam Day as well as another one who got picked up. Personally, I would go with Lester over Duday. I know Duday's obviously a recruit who missed out all of last year through injury, but I think Ryan Lester did so well last year that Duday does. I don't think he walks straight into that team. I think he has to earn his spot. Yeah. And for me, I know Henry Smith would be playing a second ruck. I just think Sam Day is the one I would change.
That's definitely the one I'd change. I think Smith was injured most of the year, but I think
he did play towards the end of the year, but then they decided to just go with Hipwood and Danaher.
Yeah, so, I just think you have to go with the experience of Sam Day, or you do Darcy Fort.
Yeah,
as the forward.
To be fair, it's round 1. If they want to try and give Henry Smith first dibs, see what he does. So,
but over the time, Darcy Fort actually has been a good second forward. A good forward.
To be fair, I feel like he's done his job now. He's like, boys, just chuck me in the VFL. I've won my AFL. I've won my medallion. Yeah. I've won you guys a premiership. I don't need to be seen anymore. If Oscar goes down, I'll put the boots back on. But for now, boys, I'm out. Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't retire, to be honest. Not that he's not that bad a player, but just to walk out as a premiership player.
That would have been,
that would have been just god tier finish there for Darcy Fort. Up next is Carlton. So in the back line, this guy's gone Lockie Cowan, Wiedering, McGovern, Newman, Nick Haynes, obviously he's a new recruit, and Adam Sard in centre. We've gone Akers, Chera, and Doherty. Half forward, we have gone Fogarty, Mackay, and Elijah Hollins. In the full forward line, we have gone Motlop, Curnow, and Williams. Followers are DeConing, Cripps, and Walsh. And on the bench, we've got Ollie Hollins, Jagger Smith as the new draftee, George Hewitt, and Matt Cottrell. A couple of players to miss out here are Silvani, Kemp, Pitternet, and Jordan Boyd. Only one I'd really make here is Jordan Boyd for Cowan. Jordan Boyd, he was such an important player for him last year before he got injured. He's such a good ball user. Lockie Cowan basically came in because of the Boyd injury. So I think Boyd just slots into that team quite nicely. Is there anyone would you make a massive change?
It was I think Brody Kemp would be pretty unlucky, really.
I think that's where Nick Haynes goes, though.
And to be honest, if Zach Williams wasn't on such a high contract, they've just chucked him in that team. Like, he's not a forward. I'm sorry, he's not a forward. He's played. Like the Giants, they trialled him midfield. I think that's a better option for him to go midfield and defender. I don't think he's a forward at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, now they've kind of chucked Jesse, Motlop, Fogarty, and Williams as small forwards.
Yeah,
I think if they can all like bring the pressure, I think that would be good. But none of them have been able to fire, all three of them fire consistently.
Well, I thought it was how last year they had to trial Brody Kemp forward.
Yeah.
I think that that's the swap. You do Williams for Kemp if they want to try anything. But also Silvani, if he doesn't get early games, he will leave.
Well, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think he will.
I'm surprised that he's there still, to be honest. But he's injury prone, so other teams probably aren't really looking. You think his father you think his father will sign into St Kilda next year?
Yeah, well, he seems to be able to do that most of the time.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, Collingwood's up next. Braden Maynard in defence with Darcy Moore, Isaac Quaynor. Then Dan Houston, Billy Frampton, and Harry Perryman, so 2 recruits in the back half. Then we have in centre Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos, and still Sidebottom. In the forward line, we've got Bo McQuarrie, Dan McStay, Jordan DeGoey, and full forward is Bobby Hill, Myercheck, and Elliott. Through the followers, we've got Darcy Cameron, Jack Crisp, and Scotty Pendlebury. And on the bench, we've got Jeremy Howe, Lipinski, Will Hoskin-Elliott, and Lockie Schultz. A couple of players to miss out here are Mason Cox, Tom Mitchell, Tim Membry, and Finn McRae. So I found it. I was trying to think of how Tim Membry gets into this team because I feel like he deserves it. But if McStay and Brody Myercheck are fit, like I said with other teams, I think 2 key forwards is the better way to go here. So I would just keep Tim Membry out in the VFL for a while.
Yeah.
With Tom Mitchell, I actually agree with this take. I think that they should keep him out unless it's needed. I think that they need to have just the players that are in right now. I think Scotty Pendlebury, even though he's a aging warrior, I think he's still the better player. So keep him in. And then I actually think I'd leave this team how it is. I don't think I'd touch the Collingwood team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it just shows how much depth they've really got. That's what it shows to me. That even a player like Finn McRae can't get into that team.
Yeah. I just think that they just need to leave it how it is.
Yeah.
And then it's good to see that they've got some depth because last year it was tested and they started to fall off.
And then they had to use the players that all these rookies, draftees that weren't ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were found out, obviously, because they didn't make the finals.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows that what the players have got, they've built the depth, they've given those players, those draftees, games. So maybe a bit more experience over the next couple months in the pre-season.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that if, building those players up, a couple of players that got in a couple of extra games last year could potentially come from the VFL if needed, have some good form come into the team. Essendon's up next. Backline, we've got McGrath, Mackay, and Jordan Ridley, along with Mason Redmond, Zach Reid, and Nick Martin in the centres. I don't know why this is Harry Jones. I know he played a little bit there, but anyway. Sam Durham and Xavier Dersma. Half forward, we've got Archie Perkins, Kyle Langford, and Jade Gresham, along with Peter Wright, Nate Caddy, and Isaac Kakos, the new draftee. In the followers, we've got Sam Draper, Darcy Parish, and Zach Merritt. And on the bench, we've got Caldwell, Guelphy, Sardis, and Archie Roberts. A couple of players to miss out here are Nick Cox, Ben Hobbs, Dylan Shield, and Jaden Laverde. Now, I've got 3 changes that I'd make to this team. First of all, I would take out Zach Reid for Laverde. I know that may be a big call because the Essendon love Zach Reid and want him to play. It's just been injury prone. But I still think Jaden Laverde is a very underrated defender. I would put him in. Next one is Dylan Shield. I would put him in for Harry Jones. I think you find a spot for him in the forward line, but if you can, but I don't think he's a wingman, and I feel like Dylan Shield, they need that experience.
Yeah. And
personally, if I'm bringing Dylan Shield in and I'm taking some experience out, I would chuck Ben Hobbs in for Darcy Parish. I think that Ben Hobbs is a little bit hard done by last year. Darcy Parish, I just don't feel like... I feel like that bringing the youth, I think they're the same player, and I think Hobbs is just as good, if not better. I think you could... I'm surprised that Essendon aren't more keen to try and relieve Darcy Parish to another club.
Yeah.
Get some cash in. Now, obviously, that's a big call, but
yeah.
I think that's the one big change that I'd make to the Bombers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hobbs next year. But I think he gets into that team. I think he's in their best 22, Hobbs.
Ben Hobbs.
But
yeah.
I don't think he takes out... They would never take out Dusty Parish to do it.
He's so injury prone, and he's never in the team. And when he is, he doesn't do a lot. Like, he gets a couple of touches. He'll get you 30 disposals, but... I personally wouldn't make too many changes. I personally would have him in the team, Ben Hobbs.
I think it's your... If you're gonna... I think if you do it, you take out Hobbs and you take out Wright.
You take out Peter Wright.
Yeah. I think he's had his run. He took his run last year and they got so sick of him they dropped him. So I think that,
yeah, but that means your forward line is Nate Caddy to kick to and Carl Langford.
I think we saw how good Carl Langford can be, haven't we?
Yeah, I
think that's your better option than that. And because then you can chuck Jones forward.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
So I think that's the way you do it. And you chuck Hobbs up.
I'd still keep Peter Wright.
I
mean, he's a 50-goal season player. I still think you'd keep Peter Wright there, but okay. Anyway, Fremantle is up next. We got Luke Ryan, Alex Pearce, Heath Chapman, and Jordan Clark, Brendan Cox, and Brendan Walker as the back line. Through the centre, we've got Jeremy Sharp, Hayden Young, and Nathan O'Driscoll. Half forward, we've got Shea Bolton as the new recruit, Josh Tracy, and Michael Frederick. Forward line is Sam Switkowski, Jai Amos, and Luke Jackson. Through the followers, we've got Sean Darcy, Caleb Sarong, and Andrew Brayshaw. And on the bench, we've got Matthew Johnson, Sam Sturt, Nat Fife, and Corey Wagner. A couple of players to miss out here are Neil Erasmus, Michael Walters, Josh Draper, and Cooper Simpson. Another one as well is Bailey Banfield. And personally, it's hard to see him in this team, but I think Bailey Banfield doesn't get his roses, doesn't get celebrated enough. He's good for a goal or two a game, and he can play pretty much anywhere. I feel like maybe Corey Warner or maybe Nathan O'Driscoll, although in saying that, he did win the Waffle Grand Final best on ground.
Nathan O'Driscoll won't come out of that. He was hard done by last year with the injury that he had. When he did come back into it, he just didn't have enough time to get back to his form that he had the year prior. So, but yes, Bailey Banfield, I think is in their best 26 players. I think he is at least on their emergency list. He's a depth player. To be honest, he would take normally he'd take over Sam Sturt's role.
Yeah,
they'd normally swap.
Yeah, but I think Sam Sturt's the younger one, and they just want to give him more of a go.
Yeah, and Sturt's also, I think, a better kick a goal. I think he's a better accurate kick.
Yeah, so but Banfield definitely makes that emergency list.
I think
it's tough. And then Michael Walters and Josh Draper, they've got some good depth there for Fremantle. So big year for them as well. Geelong's up next. Zach Guthrie in defence with Jack Henry, Jake Kolajasny, Tom Stewart, Sam DeConing, and Lawson Humphreys. In the centre, we've got Ollie Dempsey, the rising star, along with Paddy Dangerfield and Bailey Smith on the wing. Talk about that in a second. Forward line, we've got Brian Myers, Shannon Neal, Brad Close, Tyson Stengel, Jeremy Cameron, and Ollie Henry. Through the followers, we've got Reece Stanley, Max Holmes, and Mark Blitzars. On the bench, we've got Sean Manor, Jack Bowes, Tom Atkins, and Mitch Duncan. A couple of unlucky players to miss out here are Cam Guthrie, Jack Martin as well, Mark O'Connor, Jed Buse. Personally, I'd be chucking Blitzars in the ruck. I'd be chucking Guthrie into the team, and I'd be putting Smith in the midfield somewhere. Or I'd be chucking Blitzars, swapping with Bailey Smith. Smith is in the midfield.
Yes.
Anyway, not a lot of changes though. I feel Reece Stanley needs to come out for either Toby Conway or chuck Mark Blitzars in the ruck.
I think that how many more times are Geelong going to force it? They're going to try and force him into the team because he plays one, maybe two good games in about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe half a season.
Yeah. So I think it's getting to that point now where they need to find another ruckman. I'm so surprised obviously they were like dead set looking for Bailey Smith, so they kind of neglected looking for a ruckman in last year's trade period, but it's so weird that that's the one's position that Geelong are like, we'll just think about it.
The thing is, someone comes up, they keep making the finals and they keep getting there. So
yeah, I mean you can't complain about them too much if you're a Geelong fan, can you? Gold Coast, we've got in the back line Charlie Ballard, Sam Collins, Bodie Euland, Dan Rioli, Mac Andrew, and John Noble, so 2 new recruits there. Through the centre, we've got Ben Ainsworth, Noah Anderson, and Sam Clousey. Half forward, we've got Took Miller, Jed Walter, Jake Rogers, Leo Lombard, Ben King, and Ethan Reid. I don't know how that's going to... I don't know about that.
I don't like that at all.
Anyway, followers are Jared Witts, Matt Rao, and Sam Flanders. And on the bench, we've got Will Power, Lockie Weller, Will Graham, and Bailey Humphrey. On the bench... in the emergency list, we've got Joel Jeffrey, David Swallow, Ben Long, and Ned Moyle. So, that forward line is definitely not what they're going to do round one.
That will definitely not be the names.
It's... Personally, it's tough to take someone out of that midfield. I mean, maybe I think like Ben Ainsworth goes forward for Took Miller. Yeah. I mean, I know he doesn't go on the wing, but you put him there. You probably swap Miller for Flanders on that wing. You take out Ethan Reid off, put in Ben Long. Malcolm Roses doesn't even make this team, so I don't know how the hell he has not made it. He comes in for Jake Rogers. Like Ethan Reid, Jake Rogers, they'll be definitely good players in a couple of years, and may well make this team halfway through the year. Who knows? But you can't have, like, for one thing, their forward line, like Jake Rogers, small forward. Leo Lombard, I mean he's going to be a midfielder, but you need to have a specialty small forward like Malcolm Roses or Ben Long. Yeah,
that's what I think. That I don't think Leo Lombard gets his first shot. To be honest, I think it's either Leo Lombard or you go Jake Rogers. It's not both. Yeah. If you're going to go for it. And Ethan Reid, I still don't think he gets his spot.
Yeah, I mean, but also in saying that, we did talk about recently that he did have a good 2K time trial.
Yeah,
so
but
maybe he's done well.
I think that pre-season. I think you'd go you go Roses over Ethan Reid. I think you need the pace. You can't have... If he's got the agility of Ben King and you got the physicality of Jed Walter, you need someone on the ground because... I just don't think they'll kick a winning score with Rogers and Leo Lombard. On the ground.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's not hard to say what about Leo Lombard just yet. Jake Rogers definitely. Yeah, I mean, he got a Rising Star nomination last year. And I think
they will give the role first. I reckon straight to Leo Lombard. I think because he's got such potential and anticipation on him.
Yeah. But I think Malcolm Roses makes at least the emergency list. That's a bit tough. Jesus. Giants next up. Backline, Connor Iden, Sam Taylor, Jack Buckley, Lockie Whitfield, Harry Himmelberg, and Lockie Ash. Actually, sorry. Before we move on, Gold Coast, Elliot Himmelberg isn't there either.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that though.
But I mean, if they're going to put Ethan Reid there, I mean, Elliot Himmelberg.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think he gets into that 22 though. But I think...
Yeah, but I
think they didn't put in noticeable absentees in this list.
Yeah. I mean, I think it may have been in the article, but I've just taken the screenshots of the teams, so it's making it a bit easier. Anyway, to the Giants. Defence again, Iden, Taylor, Buckley, Whitfield, Himmelberg, and Ash. In the centre, we've got Callan Ward, Stephen Canelio, and Finn Callahan. Forward line is Toby Green, Jesse Hogan, Brent Daniels, Darcy Jones, Aaron Cadman, and Jake Stringer. Followers, we've got Kieran Briggs, Tom Green, and Josh Kelly. On the bench, we've got Toby Bedford, Connor Stone, Jake Riccardi, and Xavier Halloran. A couple of unlucky players to miss out are Leek Aaliyah, Phoenix Gothard, James Leake, and Toby McMullen. So, personally, I can't see the Giants playing Hogan, Cadman, Stringer, and Riccardi in the same team.
No, I can't either.
Because Stringer, yes, he's not the tallest player, but he's not a pressure forward much either, especially nowadays.
No, he's not.
So you have to choose out of Riccardi and Stringer, and personally, Jake Stringer probably gets first dibs just because he's.
I think Riccardi does. I think he gets. I think he's got the second ruck role there.
I'd still think Stringer would go first.
But they will go Stringer, I will say that. I think they shouldn't, but they will because they brought him over. So,
well, no matter what, coming in would have to be McMullen or Gothard. Gothard. I think Gothard probably gets this. I mean, McMullen probably gets it, but Gothard's had some good pre-season. So if he has a good pre-season, maybe he comes in. But yeah, I think they can't play all four.
No.
All four won't work with Kieran Briggs as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think all four go through. Anyway, up next is Hawthorn. They've gone the best 22 here, but there's one player that's injured and won't be there. Anyway, defence is Blake Hardwick, Tom Barras, Jarman Impey, Carl Amon, Josh Battle, and Jack Scrimshaw. Very good defence setting up now. Midfield, we've got Massimo D'Ambrosio, Will Day, and Josh Weddle. Forward line, we've got Ginnivan, Sicily, Moore, Cal Shadir, Mitch Lewis, and Nick Watson. Followers, we've gone Lloyd Meek, Warple, and John Newcomb. And on the bench, we've gone Jaff, Nash, McDonald, and Sam Frost. And on the emergency list, we've gone Luke Bruce, Mabior Chol, Finn McGuinness, and Cam McKenzie. Also missing out is Jack Gunston. First of all, looks like Mitch Lewis probably won't be ready for round one. Looks like his ACL is still in recovery. So
that'll be Mabior Chol.
So Chol comes in for that. Sicily, because of the defence, he's saying that Sicily goes forward. I've never liked Sicily as a forward. I personally would just chuck him in defence for Blake Hardwick. I know he had some decent games last season as a forward. I just like him as a defender, and I think he keeps them so stable back there. I would personally swap him for Blake Hardwick and put Blake Hardwick up forward. I liked him up there. Now, that's obviously, we saw him in Gather Round and I fell in love with him. But I would chuck him forward. And if that's the case, maybe one other change would be Sam Frost out for either Mackenzie or Bruce.
I think Bruce would keep his spot. I think
he's always been the sub.
The experience has been there for so long.
Yeah. I don't know. Would you make any huge changes there? Or what do you think about Sicily? You kind of didn't say much about it.
It's a nice move, but I think it's a move that it's a plan B. I think he's the defender. You need him up forward for 5 minutes. Chuck him there. Drag him there for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I just think he's a defender. I mean, maybe chuck him in the last 10 minutes of a game if you need a forward target, but I think he's a defender. Melbourne, looking at it right now, they've gone Tom McDonald, Stephen May, Christian Salem, Trent Rivers, Jake Lever, and Judd McVie. Through the centre, we've gone Ed Langdon, Clayton Oliver, and Caleb Windsor. In the forward line, we've gone Colton Fulstrup, Petty, Pickett, Chandler, Van Royen, and Bailey Fritsch. In the followers, they've gone Max Gorn, Petrarca, and Viney. And on the bench, they've gone Harvey Langford as the new draftee, Tom Sparrow, Daniel Turner, and Jack Bowie. A couple of players to miss out here are Xavier Lindsay, Jefferson, Howes, Melksham as well. Personally, I wouldn't change the 22. I think that's pretty fair enough. The only thing I'd think about is I think Petrarca needs to play 50-50 forward this year to give them another target up there. And I think Rivers needs to play more midfield. He gives them a point of difference. He's a good penetrating kick, and I think that just gives him something different than an Oliver, Viney, and Petrarca type.
Yeah, because you're looking at that forward line and you're thinking
who's going to kick you a goal?
It needs to be Petrarca.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Chandler can kick some goals. Fritsch he was a little bit out of form last year, so he can get you 40-50 goals on a good year. And Pickett can as well. I like Fulstrup. I think he's going to be a good player. But yeah, I just think they're going to struggle next year, Melbourne, with that team. I just can't see much, to be honest. Anything about Melbourne that's jumping out to you with that 22?
No, not really. There's nothing that
I don't think there's
really change on it, but
yeah, I don't think there much is screaming out saying, "Oh, this team's going to."
It screams a tall forward, but they're not. They didn't get one, did they?
Yeah, I mean, they were banking on Wade Dirks. And I don't know why the Giants held on to him so hard, but anyway, I mean, maybe they should have just. I mean, at least they held him to. At least they didn't just fucking give him up for nothing. Anyway, North Melbourne. In the back line, we've got Aiden Core, Griffin Logue, Archer, Caleb Daniel, Charlie Comben, and Luke McDonald. In the centre, we've gone Bailey Scott, Harry Sheasel, and Colby McKercher. Half forward, we've gone Jai Simpkin, Nick Larkey, Luke Parker, Paul Curtis, Jack Darling, and Cam Zerha. In the followers, we've gone Tristan Cherry, George Wardlaw, and LDU. On the bench, we've gone Finn O'Sullivan, Zane Dersma, Zach Fisher, and Tom Power. A couple of players to miss out here are Darcy Tucker, Dylan Stevens, Josh Goda, and Eddie Ford. First of all, this forward line needs a lot more pressure forward, but there's not a lot of them that have on their list.
I think, even Eddie Ford is not really a pressure forward. He's more of your agile.
He's more like the Paul Curtis type.
Yeah.
And they've already got him.
Yeah.
I personally would be chucking Zach Fisher out of the team for Eddie Ford or a Darcy Tucker, personally. Yeah. And then either putting Parker on the bench for that Eddie Ford player, or Jai Simpkin, so they can play as a second role in the midfield. I do like that he's put Colby McKercher on the wing. I think that's a good spot for him going into next year. It just still screams like North Melbourne need a lot more. They've got that spine, I think, starting to work out.
Yeah.
And I do like the Charlie Common's back. I think that's where his spot is. I think that's where he needs to play. But I just can't see much else. I wouldn't change much else to that team.
No, they just need to somehow keep Griffin Logue on the field. That's what they need. They need that stability down back.
Yeah, I agree. Port Adelaide, they've gone in the back line, Ryan Burton, Brendan Zirk-Thatcher, Logan Evans, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Alira and Miles Bergman. Through the centre, they've gone Jace Burgoyne, Willem Drew, Kane Farrell. Forward is Willie Rioli, Jack Lukosius, Jason Orne-Francis, Joe Berry as a draftee, Mitch Georgiades and Todd Marshall. Followers, they've gone Jordan Sweet, Zach Butters, Connor Rosie. On the bench, they've gone Lockie Jones, Ollie Wine, Sam Powell-Pepper and Joe Richards. A couple of players to miss out here are Asava Radikalia, Josh Sin, Jed McEntee and Travis Bogue. Before you go into it, because I think you'll have a little bit more of a better insight, I'd first of all just go Bogue for Jones. I know Jones is pretty decent, Lockie Jones, yeah. I'd be chucking Travis Bogue in for Jones. You need Travis Bogue in the team.
100% what I was going to say. Yep.
Obviously there's a couple of players I would change around. Like Jace Burgoyne showed in that final that he should be playing at half back.
Yeah.
I think that.
I think you chuck both of the. Yeah, you get rid of Burton. That's 100%. He won't play round one.
Yeah,
and it should be Josh Sin.
So Josh Sin in for Burton.
Yeah, and I think that you can chuck Jace Burgoyne back, and you can chuck Josh Sin up there on the wing a bit if you want. I think.
Yeah, you push Burne-Jones from half back to back pocket. And not that like this happens anymore, but like push into back pocket.
And I think Burne-Jones needs to be a defender. I think it is. I think even when he went back last year for those couple games, he played a lot better than playing as a pressure forward.
I think he did add something to a little bit. But I think with the recruit of Joe Richards and Joe Berry as a draftee, I think they have that filled now.
Yeah, I think that he filled a role that Kenny needed him to. But now that they've sort of stocked up on the forwards, pressure forwards, he needs to play back. He was his All-Australian position, so I think he needs to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, Burne-Jones had some good moments. I mean, obviously he kicked that goal against Hawthorn to win that game, the stolen, but yeah, I think he's more a defender. Yeah. Richmond, this is an interesting one because they've got so many new draftees. So, in the back line, they've gone Nathan Broad, Noah Bolter of Loston. Half-back is Jaden Short, Josh Gibcus and Tom Brown. Centre, Jack Ross, Tim Taranto, Hugo Routhsmith. Half forward, Ryan Mansell, Harry Armstrong, and Sam Lalor. Obviously, it's the number one pick. Morris Rioli, Tom Lynch, and Seth Campbell. Followers are Toby Nankervis, Dion Prestier, Jacob Hopper. On the bench, Josh Smiley, Ben Miller, Steely Green, and Jonty Fowl. On the emergency list of this says Sam Banks, James Tresize, Luke Trainer and Thompson Dow. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, but there are so many names there.
There is so many things that just scream out they are finishing bottom and there's no hope for Richmond this year.
Yeah, first of all, Josh Gibcus, it's unknown if he's going to be ready for round one. Hopefully he is because he does definitely add something. He's just been so injury prone. If he's out, I'd probably say Tresize probably jumps into the team. But honestly, it's a lucky dip as to who gets first rank in round one. They do have a pretty good core of like 8 players. Like if you name Broad, Bolter, Vloston, Short, Taranto, Lynch, Nankervis, Prestier, Hopper. That's 9 players that make most teams in the AFL. But then there's just such a stark drop off.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be tough to see Richmond winning many games next year. They'll get a couple, but
yeah, they're not. No one will go 0.
I can't see it.
No.
I mean, as soon as someone says it, they'll win again.
They'll win. It always happens.
Yeah. St Kilda's up next. So, I'll go through the list and then, first of all, interesting name. Caminiti in the back line, along with Wilkie, Dougal Howard, Jack Sinclair, Stocker, and Wanganeen Millerer. Through the centre, Mason Wood, Winhager, and Liam Henry. Forward line, Owens, Hill, Filippo, Higgins, King, and Sharman. In the followers, Marshall, McRae, and Steele. On the bench, Darcy Wilson, Hugo Garcia, Burns, and Travalia. On the emergency list as well, Dan Butler, Hunter Clark, Zach Jones, and Schoenmaker. So they've actually said here, I didn't know this, Caminiti has been training as a defender, so that's why they've been looking at him. I don't know, they probably have to play a different player on the half back line, whether that be Darcy Wilson or whatever, but obviously Sinclair has to play midfield. I think that's
Yeah, so
fair
it's
to
100%
say.
that just needs to happen.
The only change I'd make to the team taking out would probably be Dan Butler in for Hugo Garcia. I think that Dan Butler does add something. I know his forms hasn't been as good as obviously 2017. He's definitely been a stark drop off, but they do need someone to help with that small forward line. And Owens and Filippo, I feel like they're ready to burst onto the scene. Obviously next year.
I think you'll see Filippo get more time midfield.
Yeah.
I think that's what's hampered him the last couple of seasons is the injuries that he's suffered. That it hasn't just been able to get a full pre-season or a full season in.
Yeah, and I think Brad Hill as well probably plays off that. I think he could probably move to half back. That's probably fair enough. He was lined up at centre half forward, which weird. But yeah, I think he definitely moved.
I
to
think
half
they
back.
need more. Like I said before, it's a dead position, half forward. You need Brad Hill to star 20, 25 disposals. The Sinclair role on the other.
Yeah, I think
back.
obviously yes, he's not going to be able to defend very well, which may be getting called out. But that I think that they can he is better off that half back line. Probably can't do as much running off the wing as much anymore. So I think that's a good role for him. He's always been a good user.
Yeah.
Sydney. Not a lot of changes will be here, but I'll get into a couple of them that I would make a change for. First of all, backline, Dane Rampy, Tom McCartan, Harry Cunningham. Halfback, Nick Blakey, Lewis Melican, Ollie Florent. Centre, Jake Lloyd, Chad Warner, Errol Goulden. Forward line, Taylor Adams, Logan McDonald, James Jordan, Tom Papley, Joel Amati, and Will Haywood. The followers are Brodie Grundy, Isaac Heaney, Callum Mills. And on the bench, we've gone Rowbottom, Roberts, Justin McInerney, and Hayden McLean. On the emergencies are Robbie Fox, Braden Campbell, Jesse Totoli, and Ned Bowman. A couple of emergencies there. So, first of all, I think it's tough on Taylor Adams, but I think Braden Campbell gets that spot. And I think that one of the midfielders rotates on that half-forward line. And I know we've said this a couple of times. If you guys listen to the channel and we've talked about the Swans, I just can't see 3 tall forwards working for Sydney. I'll be interested to see what happens with Dean Cox now if he makes a change. It's hard to see which one goes out. It's Logan McDonald, Joel Amati, or Hayden McLean. McLean plays as the second ruck. Logan McDonald adds something different, but Joel Amati was the highest goal kicker for the Swans last year. So it's hard to see it. I would put Cleary around that mark or Robbie Fox. Another one as well, which really kind of fell off because he was a bit injured last year, was Angus Sheldrick. I think that he needs to be looked at a little bit more as another midfield rotation. I think he definitely adds something. He's definitely a little bit more like the James Rowbottom type. That Sydney do need is a little bit more of a defensive runner rather than the attacking Chad Warner or that sort of type. So those are the ones that I'll really be looking at personally on the Swans front. Is there anything there that I didn't say that you'd think differently?
No, I think that's pretty much right. It's going to be interesting with what Dean Cox does to the game style that it's been there for a while. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to change a lot, but I think he'll definitely add his sort of coaching role to it. West Coast, a couple of big recruits coming their way. So interesting team here. Backline, Ryan Marrick, Harry Edwards, Brady Hoff, Ruben Jinby, Jeremy McGovern, and Liam Baker. In the centre, we've gone Jaden Hunt, Elliot Yeo, Liam Duggan. Half forward, Elijah Hewitt, Oscar Allen, Jack Graham, Liam Ryan, Jake Waterman, and Matt Owies. Bailey Williams in the ruck with Harley Reid and Tim Kelly. And on the bench, we've gone Jack Williams along with Noah Long, Campbell Chestnut, and Bo Allen. A couple of players unlucky to miss out are Jack Hutchinson, Jamie Cripps, Tom Cole, and Dom Sheed. So if Flynn is fit, I just think that he comes in for Jack Williams and then Bailey Williams plays his role that he was supposed to play last year as a forward. Jamie Cripps comes in for Jack Williams, I just think somehow, some way, or Campbell Chesser. And then I feel like Dom Sheed deserves a spot, but it's hard to see him getting into the team. West Coast have an interesting lineup next year. I think their back line is a little bit scarce with a couple of players other than Jeremy McGovern. Brady Hoff has been good, and Liam Baker would be interesting to see how he goes. But yeah, they look like a team that could do something, but I just don't have the faith, especially if they get a couple of injuries. Their depth is very tested. So
the defense of them is really thin. I think.
Yeah.
I think they're relying a lot on McGovern again.
Obviously, with the loss of Barras as well, it's going to be
and-
tough.
Well, Harry Edwards will get his shot.
Yeah.
So that will be an interesting one. I think. Yeah, like players like Dom Sheed, Jamie Cripps have been there a while. It's like.
I think
do
Jamie
they
Cripps
need
gets
that-
his spot, though.
Yeah,
surely.
they need that sort of experience in that team.
Yeah.
I think at the moment it's going to be an interesting year for West Coast.
Yeah, I just don't know where they're going to go. I mean, everyone can say they're going to finish bottom or whatever, but the 22 that they have, you would think could do a little bit better than that, but who knows. And finally, we get to the Bulldogs. So they've gone Taylor Duray, Liam Jones, James O'Donnell, Bailey Dale, Rory Lobb, and Ed Richards. Through the centre, they've gone Bailey Williams, Tommy Brittore, and Harvey Gallagher. Forward line is Lathan Vandermeer, Aaron Norton, Riley West, Cody Wakeman, Jamara Ugle-Hagan, and Sam Darcy. Followers are Tim English, Bonson Pelly, and Adam Treloar. And on the bench, we've gone Sanders, Matt Kennedy, Joel Frazier, and Lockie McNeil. A couple of players to miss out here are Riley Garcia, Lockie Bramble, James Harms, and Nick Caulfield. This is interesting because if I could make one change, it may be Bramble for O'Donnell, but I think it just depends on what team they play, if they want to go with a tall defender or a runner. I personally wouldn't make too many changes to this team, but I think their forward line, Vandermeer, I mean, Cody Wakeman's not really much of a pressure forward. He can, but he's mostly known as like a hybrid forward for most of it. So that does bring in Riley Garcia to the play. But they are kind of lacking something there, I just think. I think they're three tall forwards. We've talked about that throughout a lot of this episode, that it doesn't seem to work these days.
The thing is for them is that they play most of the games at Marvel. So that's what helps them a lot, is the fact that they can play the three-pronged tools because because you're not playing against wind or rain.
Yeah.
So that's what benefits the Dogs. It's just that, that team just needs to play finals and somehow needs to make top four. And it's astounding how they don't.
Yeah, I mean, you think Ed Richards probably plays a little bit more midfield and that sort of stuff. They do lose a little bit more midfield depth with a couple of losses over the summer. I'll be interested to see how Matt Kennedy goes. I think he'll play a little bit more forward mid, but I think he'll get more midfield time with the Dogs. So I think they're a question mark. I don't know where they're going to be. Who knows where the Dogs are going to be. But yeah, guys, that's basically all the 22s that we're going to be going over today. Of course, as we get closer to the season proper, a couple of injuries will be coming through a lot more. We'll get a lot more clearer view of how the teams are going to be lining up next year. But that's basically all we got for this episode. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure to leave it a like on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Close to 2,200 subscribers. And I wanted to quickly mention this as well, that I am still making video essays for the channel, but I'm going to be releasing them next year because I really feel like there's really no point in releasing them at the moment because they're not going to get any views. And I know that sounds a bit cringe, like, oh, you want to get views. But yeah, sorry, I'd like to get views for the channel and grow the channel a bit more. So I'm going to be holding them. But if you do want to watch them right now, you can become a channel member. So it's only a couple of dollars a month. The link's down below. You get a bunch of exclusive perks. All videos go out early for members as well. But there are a couple of video essays that won't be coming out until probably March of next year. So if you want to watch them, there are two right now. One's about Collingwood, one's about the Crows. They are both up right now. My brother watched them. He said they were the best thing he's ever seen. So absolutely. See, so it's 5-star review on those guys. But if you want to watch them, links down below. And also, if you are on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars because I asked super nicely. And I think we actually got one a couple of weeks ago, which is pretty sick. So we've got 4 or 5-star reviews, which is not enough because I see that there's people listening. So if you could leave one, that'd be great. And also make sure to follow so you're notified on the podcast every single week, guys. That's all from us. So we'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.